Well, boys, I have had a Christmas to forget. I don't know about you. I think we've got some things to discuss. This is Red Card Radio. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're listening from. Thanks for tuning in. Red Card Radio is a weekly look at the Premier League from three friends who support different clubs. My name is James. I support Arsenal. With me tonight, that is Brad. He's up on the top row with me. He supports Chelsea. And down below us, that's Sean, still supporting Tottenham for some reason.
James, I got a very deep diving, important question to ask you.
All right. I
Do
figured
you
you would.
think do you think that if Arteta was not naughty, do you think you would have gotten better results? Because clearly he was on Santa's bad list. Otherwise, he probably would have got some better results of the past couple of games.
Interesting. That's an interesting question because I think it can be interpreted in a specific way.
Yes.
That
Maybe
I don't
if he behaved better.
I don't necessarily want to go down this route because it's a bit of a spiraling route, but we'll get into that in just a moment. We can talk about Arteta and maybe perhaps the way that Arsenal is refereed because of the way the things that Arteta has said. We could talk about that if we want. But before we do, first, if you could hit that subscribe button, ring the sub notification bell for this podcast. Hit it with a follow, 5-star review if you can on your podcast. Hit it with a follow, share with a friend. Do all of those things. When you hit the share button, it really does help us out. We're not really too big into analytics here, but we have definitely noticed when you guys are able to share the podcast for us, it really does help us reach new people. And so, the more you guys can do that for us, the more we appreciate it. So what we got tonight, we're only really going to focus on match week 20. If you guys remember, last week we released an episode with Joel talking about the transfer window. We didn't really preview anything. Just our recording schedule and the holiday schedule didn't really make it pertinent to do so. But we're really only going to focus on reviewing match week 20. And then we're going to kind of mention the FA Cup, which is coming up this weekend. We are only releasing one episode this week, a little bit of a lighter week. So only have to look for this release. You don't have to worry about it. But you do want to hit the subscribe button so you'll be ready for it next week. Now, a couple housekeeping things. We did have a comment from last week that we do want to discuss. I'm not going to read it verbatim, Jimmy, because there were a lot of words there, dude. But essentially, the crux of the position of your position about Liverpool is that you think that you need outside back depth and maybe another center back. You've had a lot of rotation throughout the year, playing people out of position. You're also recalling players with the African Cup and the Asian Cups going on in January. And so you're pretty happy elsewhere on the pitch, just looking for some outside back and center back depth. I think that's fair when it comes to Liverpool. I think another 6 wouldn't hurt per se, but we'll see. He also did have words for you, Brad.
Yeah, I'm ready for this. I'm interested.
Pretty substantial. In that he doesn't like that you make the injury argument for Chelsea, that like if only we were healthy, we wouldn't need to sign anyone.
But then he goes on to say all of the positions where we lack depth are where all of the injuries are.
Well, that would indicate that you need signings. For those of you on the podcast, Brad is giving an indignant look into the camera and shaking his head.
I have a question for you, Jimmy. Where would Liverpool be without Virgil van Dijk? Without Andy Robertson?
Hold on, time out. Did you just say Wes Fofana is the Chelsea Virgil van Dijk?
I'm saying he is our starting right center back.
Okay. All right. Okay, I buy. Okay, that's fair.
So, without Virgil, without Andy Robertson, without Trent Alexander-Arnold, without your number 8, I'm not even going to try.
Say the name, Brad.
Dominic. Without Dominic for half a season.
Balazai, I believe, is extremely close if I am not on it.
And throwing another half a dozen injuries to all of your depth, not having a single left back on the roster that's trusted.
Okay. Well, let me address this from Jimmy's side.
So what would happen then? Would you would of course be saying, "Oh yeah, we need to be healthy. Oh yeah, we could use signings for those positions." Or you would just want to get healthy because those players are really really good in those spots. And if they're healthy, then we're performing much better. So yes, the injury argument is legit.
Yes, Sean.
I would say that I think what Jimmy is getting at is Chilwell and Reece James have a pretty full track record of getting injured, and
I agree.
their equivalent of that would be um, Robertson. So in Liverpool, Robertson's gotten a fair amount of injuries over the past couple years.
Yeah.
No, just as one.
So they got depth, and you guys haven't seemed to address especially the right back issue. But that
I
don't
think
know.
we
Reece
have
James,
this year
You did
with
this summer.
Gusto.
Yeah.
We did this summer with Gusto, and then at left back we did last year with Cucurella, who's also hurt.
I mean, you had Aspilicueta, who was
for a while,
Correct.
yeah.
for the right back. I think, and maybe I didn't do a good job of framing this question to you last week, Brad. But I think what are your expectations for Chelsea?
European football.
Of any sort.
Yeah.
No. Okay, that's not what I'm. That's not my question. No, sorry. What are Chelsea's aspirations what should Chelsea Football Club be fighting for every year?
Oh, Champions League and the championship.
Yeah, right.
course,
So
we're-
your
yes.
aspirations are top of the
course.
table in
Yes.
fighting in Europe in the Champions League to win it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Are the players that are currently signed at Chelsea Football Club that caliber? That's the question that I should have asked last week. And I'm not going to let you answer it because that's not the point of this podcast tonight. So you'll have to think about that and send me a text message later. Or if you want to hear Brad's thoughts about that, join our Discord. The link is in the description below. Maybe he'll put a post in our Discord.
We'll do a
about it.
Discord conversation. Yes.
I do want to take a little bit of umbrage before we move on.
Okay.
And maybe we're going to dive into it in a few minutes, and maybe I'm getting to this point a little too early.
I'll let you know if you are.
Maybe it's a great segue, and we dive right in. You made a comment about the way that you guys are being adjudicated by the referees.
Yeah.
As possibly some type of, if not retribution, it is. I'm sure it is not mandated coming down. Hey, treat Arsenal different than any other club. You're just thinking maybe some deep lying subconscious. There just happens to go some calls that go against us and then go for the other team more times than they do not. Is that? I don't believe that you would allow yourself to arrive at a point that you think there is an actual agenda that has been mandated from higher referee management.
Do I think that Howard Webb has mandated that referees ref Arsenal different than other teams?
I don't think you would allow yourself to arrive at that point.
I certainly don't believe that to be the case. I certainly don't believe it's been mandated. But I look at situations. So here's a prime example in the Fulham game. Saka is going to block Jimenez off for a corner. Like the ball's going to go out on the Fulham byline. Arsenal is going to get a corner, and Saka is going to block off Jimenez. Jimenez drops his shoulder, puts it into the square of Saka's back, knocks him over, stops the ball, and then plays it forward. Okay? Not a foul, apparently. Not a foul. Okay? That's debatable.
Most times it would be ruled a foul.
Debatable whether or not you want to call that a foul. That's fine. You can debate it. And then I kid you not, 10 seconds later, the ball is still being passed around the Fulham penalty area, and Eddie Nketiah goes to close down a Fulham center back or whoever it is, and he literally like barely touches him with he's going to close him down, barely touches him significantly, like orders of magnitude less than what Jimenez did to Saka, and Fulham get a foul. And so in situations like that, you look at that and you say, okay, so Arsenal aren't able to press here to our full potential because we pressed them into a turnover, because the press that Nketiah put on resulted in a Fulham turnover that then gets pulled back because it's a foul on Nketiah. But then at the same time, Fulham are able to aggressively overpress us and they don't get called for a foul. That radically changes the way you have to play. And so I look at that and I say, those two foul calls are incongruent. The fact that the Jimenez, and if I was able to show you the video, which of course we can't show you the video because of licensing issues and whatever, but it was floating around Twitter for a while. But if you looked at that, you would look at those two situations and you'd be like, okay, that's absurd. But it's little things like that. It's Gabriel Jesus getting his calf kicked in the penalty box against Villa 2 weeks ago and it not being a penalty. And then like all of these like Charmin super soft penalties that have been called in the last 3 weeks. It's the Jota one.
Enzo and Romero.
Yeah, it's like so the Jota one where in the beginning of the season, Kai Havertz, this is Anthony Taylor as well, in an Anthony Taylor match. Kai Havertz against Manchester United, he gets hit significantly more than what Dubravka did to Jota. And Jota gets a penalty, and Kai Havertz gets his penalty revoked that Anthony Taylor gave. And so everyone thinks that the Premier League is against them. Everyone thinks that the refs are against them. But at the same time, Arteta had really, really strong words for the PGMOL, for the referees. And since that time, we have not, it doesn't seem like we have gotten a 50-50 rub. Now, okay, maybe your counterpoint would be you look at the Martin Odegaard handball against Liverpool where Odegaard's falling to the ground and the ball hits his hand and Liverpool don't get a penalty. Okay, sure, maybe you say Arsenal got lucky there. And so there's plenty of counterpoints that you could make. But I don't know. Do I think that there's a mandate from Howard Webb and the PGMOL? No. But could I believe that certain referees are butthurt against Arsenal and feel aggrieved that Arteta had those strong words?
Punishment
Certainly
wasn't harsh enough that they in their minds.
Yeah, well, because there was no punishment because Arteta got away with it. Essentially, he was found that the charges that the FA levied against him were found to be not proven. And so what he said was fine in the eyes, in like the legal sense. And I could see the referees being like, well, that's BS. Do I think that's the reason for Arsenal's woes? No. Like, we haven't been playing well. Our players aren't playing well. Our forwards can't score the ball. Martin Odegaard is out here playing like prime Ozil, and he has no support around him. William Saliba is doing miracle works in center back. Declan Rice is bossing midfielders, but we just can't, like, we're not playing well. There's like 3 or 4 players on our team that are like, yeah, really good every game, and then everyone else has been really poor. And so like that's the bigger issue. But I can't sit here and watch Arsenal games and not be like, this is ridiculous. Like, I can't look at Michael Oliver against Fulham or whenever we played, maybe Michael Oliver had the West Ham game. I don't know. But either way, I was left scratching my head being like, this is ridiculous. Like the way that this game has been refereed is absurd to me. I mean, we had another goal, the West Ham goal. Like, the first West Ham goal was clearly out of bounds, was obviously out of bounds. And I understand the VAR, like, oh, no clear evidence. We can't pull it back. But like, it was obviously out of bounds to anyone who can think critically and look at that.
So it's a sphere. And so how a sphere operates is different than how a square would operate in that same scenario.
You're right,
sir.
Brad.
So
You're right.
As a sphere, it can be larger than what you think it is.
Really? A sphere can be larger than I think it is?
The reason I brought this up is because if any of the 3 of us have reasons to feel aggrieved by the referees, it is Tottenham.
I knew you were going to say that.
I will present to you a few empirical facts that you cannot deny. These are actual statistical things.
We probably will deny, but okay.
One singular penalty called for us this year. Meanwhile, having the most statistical touches in the opponent's box on the season. So that itself is a statistical anomaly. But I'd be willing if you guys
It's
said, it's just happenstance.
That's because you
That
guys don't recycle the ball and it's all on counterattacks.
that is what it is.
I do
We
agree
have
with you. That is
52
that's a funky statistic against
We
Tottenham.
have one penalty over
Yeah.
the 20 games we've played called for us.
And I
Or
told
called
you that.
against us.
You've seen my text messages about that. I agree with you on that point.
We have 52 yellow cards in 20 games. And yes, I will listen to
Y'all don't get
your
enough yellow cards. Y'all don't get
school of
enough.
thoughts that Romero is a little heavy-handed and Basuma is heavy-handed. I can hear you on that. But you can't tell me the other 8 players are just as heavy-handed. I continue.
You also have the most tackles.
This
So having that
yes.
many yellow cards does like okay.
And I would be interested to see your guys' tackle success rate. We have a 62% tackle success rate, which is pretty big. That is a pretty high percentage of tackle success percentage. Now, my final point, just to put a cherry on this, I just want you to take a look at the stat lines from the Bournemouth game. We were fouled on record 18 times and still were given one more yellow card than they were.
Yeah.
We had they
hold
had
on.
18 fouls. We had 9. We were given 3 yellow cards. They were given 2.
So
That's ridiculous.
Just to put this out there, a 62% tackle success rate means that over 150 tackles were not successful, where the ball was missed and a player was probably hit or everything was missed.
So
Just
that's
just as a reference point. So
that's
that means a third of your tackles that were missed were yellow carded. So like again, as like if you want to dive deeper, it kind of like 150 missed tackles.
Okay. So
That's fair.
we're only getting 2 warnings.
Sometimes that's all you get, bro.
just
Some players don't get any warnings.
It depends on the tackle, it depends on the
Maybe
player, depends on the
So
reputation.
okay, that's
maybe Ange needs to start complaining because he doesn't. And you guys could probably admit that. Ange does not complain.
bro.
He
He's
just said,
started.
it is what it is, mate.
He's started to
He's
complain.
getting there.
He's started to
getting
complain.
there.
Because it's been really rough, and we're getting calls that other teams aren't. Other teams are being overly aggressive with us, and we respond in kind and just get yellows.
Okay, so Sean, let me just also throw this out there for you. You guys are playing the most expansive football you've played since Poch. The most passing, the most pressing, the most free-flowing football you've played in 3 or 4 years under Ange. It is just true in the Premier League, at least, and I can attest to this, having watched Arsenal for close to 20 years now, and every year we play expansive, free-flowing football, that if you pass the ball a lot, you get fouled a lot. And for some reason, Premier League referees don't protect our players. They don't like I could look at the number of times Bukayo Saka's been fouled and been like, this is absurd. And like he puts in one challenge and gets a yellow card. So it's just the nature of like, it feels like Premier League referees like honor and respect the hard body nature, I guess, of like that, like determined, defensive, gritty English football from back in the day. And, you know, these foreigners are coming in and passing the ball around and playing tiki-taka and like all this stuff. Like, I don't know, like it seems to me, I would agree with you. I think that Arsenal are unfairly refereed. And when it comes to yellow cards specifically as well, I think Arsenal are over yellow carded as compared to the teams that we play against. But I think Brad would probably say the same thing about Chelsea when Chelsea are playing well, and Liverpool fans would say the same thing. So I think it's more that you're just coming into the median of like, this is how teams who play free-flowing football feel.
I will present to you 2 more pieces of evidence before I rest my case and we move on. The Brighton game. Brighton had 18 fouls. We had 6. 18-6. We had literally a third.
Yep.
They had 3 yellow cards. We had 2.
Yeah.
So out of 6 fouls, 2 were deemed to be yellow cards, while the other team had 18.
Again,
and only so one more. The Everton game. We had 6 fouls. We had 1 yellow card. This one seems to be at least a little bit fair. They had 18 fouls and 4 were
Well,
yellow.
okay, but I think we also have to think about the fact that you guys are probably like playing better defense, and so your players are in less bad positions. Like I bet that the yellow cards that you're looking at are like pullbacks to stop fast breaks or something like to stop breakaways or something like that. I don't know. I don't watch
Sure.
Spurs, so I
It,
can't speak to them. But
it
like that,
just
Question.
when you watch the game, it just feels slanted. That's all I'm saying.
sure.
Like if we do something, we get the yellow. If they do it, it play on. It gets really frustrating.
Didn't Richarlison take his shirt off?
He always takes his
Uh
shirt off.
That's what
did
if he
did
got a
he?
yellow card, I'm assuming he took his shirt off. And
Yeah,
so
we
that's
should
like
we should look
that's
to
just
see
is what it is.
we should look to
He's
see how many yellow cards are dissent and like yellow like because the question is like
I
especially
don't
now in
think
the
we've got a dissent yellow this year. Maybe Richarlison took a shirt off, but most of our yellows have been quote unquote earned.
fouls. I
They
don't
have
know.
been fouls. Yeah.
This is a bit not where I thought this conversation was going. But it's an interesting. I mean, I think it is it a good position for the Premier League to be in where everyone thinks that there's an agenda against them. Because if you talk to Liverpool supporters think the PGMOL hate them. If you talk to United supporters think the same. I think only City fans are
Brad's been beefing with
like. I
AT
think
for
Uh-huh.
years.
Yes,
like
AT
City.
should not be reffing.
Yeah, like Chelsea fans hate the
That's a
referees.
very good point. That's a very good point to
Like
make there.
the only
Is if
people are the only people who are happy with the PGMOL are City and City fans because they get away with murder and get handballs and pullbacks and that we all could only dream of getting.
I feel like your point is probably I'm probably not getting the exact saying right. Is if everything is true, then nothing is true.
Yeah, maybe.
It's something. The saying is something along those lines, but
Yeah.
it can't all be true either.
Yeah.
So if everybody believes it, then it's not true.
Yeah, it's probably then everyone feels like I mean like Wolves fans might legitimately have cause to feel aggrieved this year because how many they might be leading the Premier League table for apologies from the PGMOL this year with the number of apologies Wolves have gotten. So I want to pull this up now. I meant to pull it up 20 minutes ago, but it's the Premier League table. Got that pulled up so that everyone can see. It's been a couple weeks since we've looked in on it, but as everyone can see, Liverpool are clear at the top of the table, 5 points above Manchester City, who do have a game in hand on them. So it could be as little as 2 points if City win their game in hand, which I think is against Brentford or something like that. So they almost certainly will win that match. So if we think about from first to fifth, there's only 6 points separating those teams. So we could have legitimately
Brentford.
What?
Their match in hand is against Brentford.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Is that what I said? Or did I say Bournemouth?
Yeah. No, you said Brentford.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I was confirming it then.
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you. I always like to be
So-
told that I'm right. So
And then
We know that. We
there is
know
a-
that.
a bit of a gap to the next group where there's 5 down to West Ham. Although that 5 to West Ham, the next gap is really Brighton United, Newcastle, Chelsea, where they're 31, 31, 29, 28, and then Wolves
And
too.
Wolves 28.
yeah,
Wolves is on 28.
I think you kind of have to lump everyone from 6 to 11 from West Ham to Wolves. That's their own little
Table.
league table there. Now to be fair, I don't think Wolves are going to finish 7th, but I think anyone from West Ham to Chelsea legitimately feel like they could, get up into 5th and like steal that 5th position. And then, the table kind of settles out, but then you got the relegation situation, which has become slightly more interesting in that Luton have gotten some results recently. It certainly is looking very bleak. Very bleak for Burnley and Sheffield United. But Luton Town, they're only 1 point away from Everton, and they have a game in hand. That game that was postponed or abandoned against Bournemouth.
With Bournemouth.
Yeah. So like anything could happen in that match, and Luton, if they win that match, would be out of the relegation zone. And much to Joel's happiness, Everton would be in it. So maybe that final relegation. We have all Red Card Radio as a corporate unit has been relegating Luton Town for the last 18 weeks. Um,
20 weeks?
yeah, but
We've played 20 match weeks.
but to be fair, they're not dead yet. So
No.
let's not write them off yet. And Everton aren't safe yet. And I think I have been. I mean, the problem is that Everton should have 26 points. They've gotten 10 docked, so it should be like that. It shouldn't be an issue
The
for them.
comment,
Let's
the
see what
comment,
else happens. There's
comment
might be
I
more
made,
happening.
Well, we're
the
not going to get
comment
into
I
that.
made was the 2 wins by Luton as of when I typed it, which was earlier this week or
Yeah.
maybe on the weekend, was that Luton have single-handedly pulled Palace, Forest, Brentford, and Everton into the relegation zone
Like into
because
the
they won those
conversation.
yes, because they picked up those 6 points in back-to-back games, which took them from 9 points, which would have them tied for the bottom, and it was 9-9-11. And, and then them being on 15 points brings in Everton at 16, brings in Brentford at 19, brings in Nottingham at 20. And, they're just that much closer to that 18th spot that they don't want to be in.
Yeah. I think the relegation battle will be interesting for that last position. It seems almost like a foregone conclusion that Sheffield United and Burnley are going to go down, but we're only halfway through. So yeah, we're saying this
You've
now,
seen
but
things happen.
yeah, other things have happened.
They
So
could hire Eddie Howe and drive out of the relegation zone. That did happen last year at this time.
I think the big
2 years ago. Sorry, you're right. 2 years ago. My bad.
the big game this week was the Liverpool Newcastle match. Liverpool hosting Newcastle at Anfield. I think we all got to watch a fairly decent amount of that match because we were texting a lot through it Monday afternoon. Liverpool
was a bloodbath.
Liverpool got
because
two exceptionally soft penalties in that match, and I think Jimmy and Tamzid would agree that the penalties they got were. The first one was significantly more. I don't know. Agree. Like the Jota one's not a penalty. No day. No day of the week. That's a yellow card for diving every day of the week. So
Liverpool had 34 shots and 15 on target. They were absolutely They were absolutely battering Newcastle.
Yeah. But I think that's what we all expected, right? Like Newcastle is rocking up to this game with the same starting 11 that they've had for the last 6 weeks, essentially. Like they've had a little bit. They've gotten a couple players back, and they've lost a few other ones, but
that includes a 17-year-old.
Yes, right. Who got the softest yellow card against him. I was so mad when Miley got his yellow card. I was so mad about that because it wasn't even a foul. Anyway, Joel knows. I texted about it when it happened. I don't know. I wasn't expecting much from Newcastle out of this match. Neither was Joel when he sent us messages. But they played well. But yeah, Liverpool are just a force, and they, if Darwin Nunez could not shoot it directly at the goalkeeper, they would have won the game like 7 or 8-2.
8, yeah.
Their XG was like a 7.5 at the highest ever.
Yeah, the highest ever amassed in like a big fixture, like a big 5 European League fixtures, whatever.
It was highest ever recorded XG. Yeah.
It was a huge XG.
I will say my positive takeaway for Joel and other fans of Newcastle was, man, Anthony Gordon's really good. He is really, really good. His turns and first steps and first touch, like you blink. If you're a right if you're a right back, no, he doesn't.
He plays all over. He plays all over.
If you're a fullback,
if you're a defender,
if you blink, he is past you.
Yeah, he's
like you have to be 100% dialed in, focus, or he's gone.
He was definitely suffering at Everton. Having better players around him, players who can better facilitate his style at Newcastle is certainly serving him well. So
I did have one. Did you guys see the McAllister pass?
Oh yeah.
Unlocked. Oh my, sublime.
is
That was
insane.
it.
Outside of the
The,
foot, split 3 defenders and curled directly
the,
into the pass of the player.
the view from behind Allison
Yeah.
is chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Just beautiful. It's Brad. If you haven't had a
Oh yeah,
chance to
no,
see
I
it,
have. I did watch it.
oh my
It was
gosh.
gorgeous,
So,
especially on the outside of his foot. Ooh,
should
that
we
touch was awesome.
should we quickly touch on the FA Cup before we get out of here? So the Premier League is done for the next couple weeks. We're into the weird winter break season in the Premier League, where after the third round of the FA Cup, we get the staggered winter break for teams. So there won't be any Premier League until the 13th, but then it's only half of the contingent, and then the next week, weekend of the 20th, there's only half of the contingent. It's not really until the end of January and early February when the Premier League really gets back going. But we got the third round of the FA Cup. This is where the Premier League teams come in. This is where Arsenal wear their fancy no more red kit and then lose 8-0 in the third round of the FA Cup for the third straight season. Sean, I picked Spurs to win the FA Cup this year. You guys start with Burnley at White Hart Lane. How are you feeling?
My man, we are rocking into 2024 with Lo Celso at the 10 and Ben Davies wearing the captain's armband. Vibes are at an all-time low, my man.
I mean, I know you saw that vibes meme I've been sending for the last week about the cat just like vibing. That's how you gotta roll, bro. It's just disco cat. Just
I said this in the pre-production. If you would have told me in early August or late July that come January you will be playing Lo Celso at the 10 and Ben Davies will be playing a crucial part of your center defensive structure, and he's probably going to wear the armband because I can't imagine who's going to wear it with Son. Son is gone. He will not play in the FA Cup game. That was his last game before he goes to Asia to duke it out with Malaysia and Burma for a month. If you would have told me those things, I would have said, "Oh, well, we're sitting 13th." Like, there would have been not a doubt in my mind that we are bottom half. If that is what we have arrived at, we're in dire straits.
Yeah, your point in the summer was we're 2 injuries away from rocking out with
Yes,
Eric Dyer.
I said this exact thing that we've got a pretty good lineup, but we are 2 injuries away from Davies and Dyer again.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah, and here we are. It's January and we are at that point.
And what is it? It's not even Davies and Dyer.
Davies and Royal.
We are playing
Davies,
the
Royal Davies.
Arsenal special. Well, no, I will say, well, it's not quite the Arsenal special. It's the reverse Arsenal special, where you guys just play 4 center backs across the back. Yeah. We're playing 4 fullbacks across the back.
Yeah, it's a clash of styles.
Behind this team. Yeah.
What are you talking about? Everyone's running behind Emerson Royale. Get out of here, Brad. That guy's not tracking anyone.
He's just fast enough to catch up. Everybody's running past him.
He's fast enough to catch up and foul you. Anyway, you guys surely should beat Burnley. Yeah, that's a very winnable match.
Winnable.
We should be on to the 4th round. That would be incredibly disappointing if we didn't win that.
Brad, what are the odds that Preston North End get the upset at Stamford Bridge?
Not very high.
Ooh, we're feeling confident.
Yeah. Hey, Sean. Before I should have said this before I answer that, Sean. This is your specialty. Where is Preston? How are they sitting?
Oh man, they're right in the mid. They're in the thick of the mid-table, right at 14th. However, they're only 4 points off 7th, so they're not out of the discussion. It is really congested in the middle. Really, I know you guys have been paying attention. Really congested right in that middle. I mean, we run 39, 37, 37, 36, 36, 36, 35, 35. It's really tight. That 7 through 14.
How tight is it?
It is tighter than what we say, a camel's ass in a sandstorm.
We said all 3 last time. Surely Chelsea beat Preston.
Yes.
The big matchup though is not Arsenal Liverpool. It's not Arsenal Liverpool.
Oh no, you're right. It's not.
It's the Tyneside derby, boys. Sunderland hosting Newcastle United.
Ooh,
boys.
spicy.
Their
Where's
ultras
Joel?
just meet on the
4th?
banks of the Tyne and just duke it out every time they play? Like, how does this work?
I mean, I think
I
there's fights.
Probably.
I
It's
think
probably close to that.
think there's
This is
hooliganism.
not. Yeah, this is not the game that you bring your family to.
No.
Is
No.
this like if you guys have seen Game of Thrones? Is this the Battle of the Bastards? Is this Jon Snow versus Ramsay Bolton? Like, did they? I'm
Oh,
just imagining they meet in a field and just like there's just
Oh,
hundreds of people on each side and they
dang.
just fight.
I had never made the allegory that Winterfell would be Newcastle on the Tyne.
Yeah,
Oh man, I like
yeah,
that. I don't dislike
it
that the way
fits.
to look at it.
Yeah.
That's not
yeah.
bad.
Meet on the riverbanks and just have at it. Have a jolly hoo.
Sure, buddy.
What the
Um,
heck was?
yeah,
I think I was looking for a ballyhoo,
maybe.
which is a actual term.
This
We'll go with Jolly Who.
I have no idea what the state of Sunderland is, but Newcastle are depleted. Newcastle are tired and injured and have played
Yeah.
the same 11 for the last 12 weeks. Like,
I can't tell you the state of the roster, but I can tell you they are currently in the playoff position in the championship.
yeah.
They're sitting sixth.
I think this is spicier than we would predict. I mean, Newcastle
Well,
probably still
is
win,
it
but
gonna
I
be
think
the
this is
stadium? Is it at St. James or Stadium and Light?
Stadium of Light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
think
this
this is
might be spice.
this is one that we should all tune into. This is 7:45. So they get their own kickoff window. There's the 7:30 kickoff on Saturday, the 10 o'clock kickoff, and the one match at 7:45 is Sunderland Newcastle. So
Eastern time.
yes, of course, everything is in Eastern time because that's we're on the East Coast, West Coast.
What is this? Is this on Tubi, FS1, ESPN? What?
ESPN Plus.
Random
ESPN
channel are they
Plus.
putting this one on? All right.
ESPN Plus. So that should be a good one. Obviously, Liverpool, Arsenal from the Emirates. We're
What you
wearing
got?
we're wearing our all white kit. We're gonna get smoked.
Oh, so there's going to be red on that kit.
There's going to be a lot of red on that kit. I love the idea of the kit and the movement, and it's like they're trying to raise awareness and raise money for organizations that help to stop knife crime in London. I think it's a great initiative, but it's been cursed every year. So we've worn it. It's a super sweet kit. I would buy one. I would buy one for $200. Like, they're that nice, I think. I would pay double what a normal jersey costs for one of those. And they could donate my money to knife crime stuff, but they won't sell them commercially, is what they said. I think that they should revise that position, but
It's auctioned, bro. You just gotta get in one of those auctions.
no,
You got
it's not
this.
even an auction. They just give them away. They give them away to people who are
And then
positive.
they auction them.
That's not true.
Some of them
Brent.
are auctioned.
I mean, I'm sure that the person who has them could auction them after the fact, but I don't think that the CFO has wrote that into the 2024 Red Card Radio budget. I don't think that's in the P&L statement.
It is just really cool to see. We were just talking about Preston North End or the likes of Wrexham or
Yeah.
Coventry. Coventry's got a pretty big stadium, but that probably wasn't right. But just going to the big stadiums and having a night to remember that you tell your kids for, and it's just so great that Liverpool gets to go to Emirates. Don't you guys think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The kids getting to come to an actual stadium, a proper footballing institution. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a great place for us to just call it a quits. If you could, guys, hit us with a follow, drop a comment down below, join our Discord so you can see what Brad's thoughts are about that question that I asked him about earlier, which I don't necessarily remember what it is, but maybe Brad will watch the podcast tomorrow and be able to answer it. Spoiler alert, he will not. Hit us up on Twitter. That guy over there is at KSBradG. Down below, it's Whiteheart_Sean. I'm at James Tiffany. Collectively, we can be reached on all the socials at redcard_radio. And enjoy some football this weekend. We will be back next week to break down the FA Cup and maybe we'll look at the Asian Cup or something. Who knows? Talk about how Japan's going to win it all. But until then, have a good one, and we will talk to you all soon.